Let me ask you something very straightforward. Have you ever had the feeling that your own diet might be sabotaging you without you even realizing it? Well, when we talk about urinary tract infections and bladder health, most people only think about bacteria, antibiotics, or drinking lots of water. But there's a detail that's rarely mentioned in doctors' offices, and that could be behind those recurring flare-ups: inflammatory foods. You know, that nagging pain in your lower abdomen, the burning when you pee, that constant urgency that makes you run to the bathroom several times a day. Many times, it's not just about bad luck. What you put on your plate might actually be creating the perfect environment for your bladder to become increasingly irritated, inflamed, and vulnerable. And that's exactly why I need you to stay with me until the end of this video. Because if you suffer from urinary tract infections, you're going to understand how some seemingly harmless foods may, knowingly or not, be sabotaging your recovery and raising your chances of another flare-up. The idea here isn't to demonize food, but to open your eyes to something no one talks about. While you're fighting to get rid of the infection, you might actually be fueling inflammation in your body without noticing. And inflammation is like gasoline thrown onto a fire. It makes your bladder fragile, weakens its natural defenses, and makes bacteria's job much easier. So, if you're tired of living in this cycle, of treating, getting a little better, and then suffering all over again, this video is for you. We're going to talk about the main foods that inflame your bladder, and also about the options that can help you shield your urinary health from the inside out. Get ready, because some of this is really going to surprise you. Before we continue, let me ask you something important. Our goal here on the channel is to reach 1,000 subscribers as soon as possible, and I really need your help. So, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now so you don't miss any content about urinary health and UTI prevention and more. I need at least 100 comments so that YouTube delivers this video to more people who suffer from this problem. So, comment right below, "I want to shield my bladder." That simple phrase will already help me spread this knowledge and could transform many lives. Now let's get to the point. Have you ever stopped to think about what inflammation does inside your body? Many times when we talk about UTIs, we only think of bacteria as if they were the only culprits. But the truth is that inflammation is like an open door, weakening your bladder's natural defenses. When your body is inflamed, whether because of diet, stress, or bad habits, the bladder walls become more sensitive, irritated, and vulnerable. That means even a small number of bacteria can take advantage of that weakness and cause a painful flare-up. It's as if the body is tired of fighting and gives space for the enemy to act. And you know what's worse? Many times, people do everything right. They take antibiotics, follow medical treatment, drink water, but without realizing it, they keep consuming foods that keep the inflammation active. The result? The infection comes back again and again, and the suffering seems endless. You already understand how inflammation paves the way for UTIs, so we need to talk about something that might be right under your nose: the invisible villains on your plate. Those foods that seem harmless, part of your daily routine, but are actually inflaming your body every single day. Well, they could be the real reason behind your bladder's weakness. Let's start with refined sugar. Sweet on the tongue, bitter for urinary health, sugar feeds bacteria, disrupts both intestinal and urinary flora, and triggers inflammatory processes that make your bladder more sensitive. That innocent little dessert after lunch might, without you realizing it, be creating the perfect scenario for your next flare-up. Another silent enemy: ultra-processed foods, cookies, chips, ready-made meals, deli meats, all packed with chemicals, preservatives, and unhealthy fats that inflame your entire body. Sure, they may seem convenient day to day, but the price you pay later is high. Pain, burning when urinating, and that constant sense of vulnerability. And we can't forget fried food. Who hasn't given in to French fries, a pastry, or a fried snack? The problem is that reused oils and trans fats in these foods are inflammatory bombs. Your body can't handle them well, and your bladder ends up paying the price. Even some normal foods can be problematic. like fatty red meats and certain heavy dairy products, which in some people increase inflammation even further. Here's the point. If you suffer from recurring UTIs, it may not just be bad luck or genetics. It may be that every single day, you're reinforcing inflammation through your own food choices. And simply recognizing these villains can already start turning things around. If there's one food that deserves the title of public enemy #1 for your urinary health, it's refined sugar. And I'm not just talking about the white sugar you put in coffee, but everything it hides in: cookies, sodas, boxed juices, candies, cakes, desserts, even in savory products like sauces and packaged breads. Why is sugar so dangerous? First, because it's the perfect fuel for inflammation. When you consume sugar in excess, your body goes into alarm mode. Glucose levels spike, cells get overloaded, and your immune system gets weakened. Result? Your bladder loses part of the natural defenses that should keep bacteria at bay. On top of that, sugar not only fuels inflammation, but also feeds the very bacteria that cause UTIs. It's like handing them everything they need to multiply faster. That's why many people notice that after indulging in sweets or sodas, those uncomfortable symptoms show up again. Burning, lower abdominal pain, urgency to pee, and there's more. Sugar also disrupts the balance of gut flora and vaginal flora, two critical protective barriers that prevent bacteria from reaching the bladder. Without this balance, the chances of a new flare-up go way up. I know cutting sugar sounds tough, since it's hidden in almost everything, but reducing it already makes a huge difference. Imagine this. Every time you say no to a soda or dessert, you're saying no to inflammation and taking a big step toward shielding your bladder. Now let's talk about another underestimated enemy: fried foods and trans fats. Who hasn't given in to crispy fries, a hot pastry, or a juicy burger? The problem is that behind the flavor, these foods hide a devastating effect for anyone battling UTIs. Fried foods, especially when cooked in reused oil, are loaded with compounds that generate chronic inflammation in the body. Each time you eat them, it's like lighting a silent fire inside you. And when that fire reaches the bladder, its walls become more sensitive, irritated, and vulnerable to bacteria. Trans fats found in chips, processed cookies, margarine, and fast food are even worse. The body simply doesn't know how to process this artificial fat, which ramps up inflammation, overloads the liver, and weakens your defense system. Result? Your bladder becomes an easy target, and painful flare-ups appear more often. And it gets worse. When you combine sugar, fried foods, and trans fats in a single meal, like fast food, inflammation skyrockets. It's like giving the infection a boost, even right after a treatment. You might think, oh, it's just once in a while, it won't hurt. But for someone with a fragile bladder, that once in a while can be the trigger for the next crisis. That's why cutting down fried foods and avoiding trans fats is a crucial step if you want to finally break the cycle of recurring UTIs. Many people eat bread for breakfast, cheese at lunch, pizza on weekends, all without realizing they might be feeding inflammation and making their bladder more vulnerable. Gluten, found in breads, pasta, cakes, and cookies, isn't necessarily a villain for everyone, but in sensitive people, it irritates the gut and causes intestinal inflammation. And believe it or not, the gut and bladder are more connected than you think. When the gut is inflamed, the bladder feels the impact too. More irritated, weaker, and easier prey for bacteria. Dairy products like milk, yellow cheeses, and cream can increase mucus production in the body and, in some people, hinder digestion. This causes fermentation, bloating, and more inflammation. For people with recurring UTIs, this is serious because constant inflammation keeps the bladder on high alert and increases flare-up frequency. The hardest part is that these foods seem innocent. After all, who would suspect that the melted cheese on your Friday night pizza or that breakfast bread roll could be fueling the infection cycle? But the truth is, for many people, cutting down or even removing gluten and dairy for a few weeks brings huge relief. It's not about cutting everything at once, but about observing your body. Trying alternatives can be transformational. Swapping regular bread for gluten-free options, choosing plant-based milks instead of cow's milk. Small changes that can shield your urinary health and prevent future flare-ups. So far, we've talked about solid foods, but what about drinks you consume every day? Many times, they go unnoticed, but are some of the biggest villains for your urinary health. If you suffer from recurring UTIs, you need to pay close attention because some drinks are powerful irritants for your bladder. Let's start with coffee. Many people can't live without it, I know, but caffeine is a stimulant that increases urine acidity and irritates the bladder lining. Result? More urgency, more discomfort, and sometimes even the feeling that the infection is back. Another big problem: sodas. They combine everything bad in one glass. Too much sugar, dyes, preservatives, and carbonation. This sparks inflammation and alters urine pH, making bacteria's job easier. And don't think diet or zero versions are safer. Artificial sweeteners also irritate the bladder and may worsen symptoms. And what about alcohol? A glass of wine or a beer on the weekend might seem harmless, but alcohol is a diuretic. It dehydrates the body, disrupts urinary flora, and irritates the bladder. In other words, it paves the way for bacteria to thrive. Energy drinks are also on the list, mixing high doses of caffeine with sweeteners and other artificial stimulants. For a fragile bladder, it's like pouring salt on an open wound. The big issue with these drinks is that besides causing irritation, they create a cycle of dehydration. When you don't drink enough water and replace it with coffee, soda, or alcohol, your urine becomes more concentrated, more acidic, and that's the perfect environment for infection. The good news, the solution is simple: water. It's the best natural remedy to dilute urine, cleanse the bladder, and help your body defend itself. Caffeine-free, sugar-free teas like chamomile or fennel are also great allies. After so many villains, let's talk about the foods that fight for you. They're like good soldiers, strengthening your immunity, reducing inflammation, and protecting your bladder from future UTIs. Fruits rich in antioxidants, like blueberries, strawberries, blackberries, and cranberries, help create a hostile environment for bacteria, preventing them from sticking to bladder walls. Plus, they naturally fight inflammation from the inside out. Dark green vegetables like spinach, kale, and broccoli provide essential vitamins and minerals for your immune system and fiber for gut health. And when the gut works well, the bladder benefits too. Healthy fats are also key. Extra virgin olive oil, avocado, chia seeds, flaxseed, and nuts help lower inflammation and support hormonal balance. When systemic inflammation decreases, your bladder naturally grows stronger. Whole grains and legumes, like beans, lentils, and chickpeas, provide steady energy, fiber, and essential nutrients to keep the body balanced. And of course, water remains your best friend. It dilutes urine, helps wash the bladder, and prevents bacteria from multiplying. The idea isn't about restrictions, but smart swaps. Replace soda with water, and lemon slices, fried foods with baked options, cookies with antioxidant-rich fruits. Every swap moves you away from inflammation and closer to a pain-free life. After all this, one thing is crystal clear. Your diet plays a direct role in your bladder health. It's no exaggeration to say that food can be either poison or medicine. The villains: sugar, fried foods, processed products, excess coffee and alcohol, fuel inflammation, and leave your bladder fragile. But when you choose anti-inflammatory, antioxidant-rich, nutrient-packed foods, you're literally shielding your urinary health from the inside out. So now I want you to stop and reflect. How many UTIs have you already faced? How many times have you taken antibiotics, felt the pain, burning, urgency, and still the problem came back? If you don't break this cycle now, it will keep repeating. The good news is, you have the chance to change it. That's why I'm inviting you to subscribe to this channel. Our goal is to hit 1,000 subscribers, and I need you to help me get there. Here, you'll find information rarely mentioned in doctors' offices, but that can truly transform your life. And there's more. YouTube only shows this content to more people if there's engagement. That's why I need at least 100 comments on this video. So comment right below. I choose to shield my bladder. That simple phrase will show your commitment to your health and help others receive this message. Remember, you're not alone on this journey. Every small change you make on your plate is a step away from pain and insecurity, and a step toward more freedom, confidence, and well-being. And now I'll leave you with a question. Which of these foods do you notice makes your symptoms worse? Answer in the comment, because your experience might help many others going through the same thing.